Alright, we're back. That D-18 37 Authentic was a bust. we evaluated, went through all that work, and then I made the decision to not reset the neck just yet. But I'm going to wait a little bit. Now, but, sorry about that. This is the D-18 39 Authentic that I also looked at in that video of 4 Authentics. This one, though, I have already seen before. I've already set it up. So the nut on this one is good because I did it a couple years ago. I also did the saddle on this guitar. Filled in the slot and made this a true vintage saddle, which I have a video in the can on that too. So I've already seen this one. It's already got some age on it, and it still has a high action. So, in fact, it's higher than the other one. This is 115 here. 115. If you recall, when in the video on the 4 Authentics, I talked about how I got action specifications, and I said that 100 to 105 was a fairly common action for bluegrass, rhythm, and lead guitar players, the overall bluegrass guy, like Tim Stafford, Kenny Smith, guys like that play in a band, play rhythm, and don't play leads constantly, like David Greer, for instance. Solo David Greer is a flat-picking guitar player, you know what I mean? And Brian Sutton, those guys all have solo guitar albums. But when I look at somebody like Tim Stafford, he's a band guy, great flat picker. But he's a band member. He plays rhythm. He sings, he does that. Those guys, Kenny Smith would be there too. He's in the band, even though he does have solo albums, which are terrific. I kind of think of Kenny as a rhythm player because of that band situation. So, those guys all run actions of around 100 and 105. So the action on that 37 Authentic would be quite acceptable to those guys. What I am these days is more of a lead flat picker, and I'm old and I want a slinky action. All right, so the 37A would be right in line with people who are rhythm guitar players, and so that's why I think I'm going to leave it alone. But there's 39A. Let's make it into a slinky guitar. Let's make it into something that David Greer would pick up and go, man, I hope he would say, gosh, this plays good. So my goal on this one is to make it more of a slinky lead flat picking guitar. And part of the reason for that is action is already high. 115 is high. Very few people whose guitars I measured had an action of 115. So it is high. So here's 115, and we're going to put it under the low E. I'm going to smash the feeler gauges down, and it clears. It just barely clears, so it's 115. All right, so this guitar, there's no way that adjusting the nut's going to do anything because the nut's already adjusted. It's my adjustment. It's perfect. Thank you very much. It's perfect. And the relief on this is perfect. So that's all taken care of. The action's still high. The saddle on this one, again, even though it was in the other video, is already low. Not low, but it's it's 120. And that's as low as I want to go. I just said that in the 37A. I said I could go from 130 to 120, and it would be still acceptable. I think 110 and maybe 100. 110 would be starting to think, man, that's what my D28 41 Authentic is. 110. It is okay. I don't want to go any more. 120 is nice. I mean, it's good. If this action was perfect at 93,000, that would be perfect. I'd be super happy with that. If a guy ever wanted to come in and raise the action, he'd have enough saddles he could do that without getting too tall of a saddle. But point is this saddle is great for this guitar. The nut's great, the relief is great, but the action is 115. I don't think we have any choice on this guitar but to go ahead and reset the neck, and I feel more comfortable doing it on this one that I do the 37A because of the age. This has already been around. I've already seen it. I've already set it up. So let's focus on this guitar today. We're going to do a neck reset on this one. I promise you. Let me get a new sheet here. So this was the D-18 37A. And there's the owner's name. Okay. So making a new sheet. Let's get into a story on this one. Now here's a guy. This is the D35. If you go back and watch that video I did on that really outstanding D35 with the Granadillo bridge on it. I was just so impressed with that. Here's your spec sheet. Here's your spec sheet. And you can see, I hope, right there, I set his action at 93 thousandths to 80. And that thing played beautifully. I mean, it was so good. So that's what we're going to turn this guitar into. We're going to turn this one into one of those Slinky guitars. So that when the owner says, well, I want a Slinky guitar today, he gets this guitar out. When he says, man, I want to hit that bluegrass rhythm, you know, then he's going to play the 37, which is probably what I would do too. If I was going to play in a bluegrass band situation, especially an acoustic bluegrass band, I'd probably get the 37A out because of the forward X and the big boomy sound and the punch, and you know, man, I'm probably going to play that one a little bit harder. This one is what I hear more of a modern flat picking guitar, you know, modern, you know, because it is a 39 copy. But it's got the rear X, it's a tighter, punchier, and this one to me just says lead guitar, you know. So that's my philosophy and thinking on this. So that's why this one's going to be the lead guitar. The 37A is going to be the one I'm going to pick up and I'm going to play in an acoustic situation. Also, another thing that kind of goes along with this is that if I'm playing in a band, in a rhythm situation, I'm going to be standing up. When I'm standing up, it's harder to play. It's sloppier because I don't do it all the time. So having that extra neck width gives me just a little bit more room, a little bit more forgiveness. Having the bigger bridge spacing, I like it because you can get your hand moving. You know, you don't have to do this little tinky thing. Like mandolins is tough, you know, sometimes for that because it's hard for me to go from a big neck guitar to a mandolin. This guitar is a guitar that if I'm flat picking lead, I'm probably going to sit down. I'm going to sit in a chair. I'm going to do that, and I'm okay with that tighter spacing. You know, I'm more focused on this kind of thing. Okay, again, it's just a philosophy thing. It's just why if I own both of these guitars, this would be my Slinky guitar. And that 37A, I would run a little bit of higher action for a different situation. Alrighty? Lots of information there. I'm just trying to give you, again, my thought process on this. So this is a D-18 39A. My low E is 115. That's my start action. Start 115, and I want this to be 93 thousandths. So you can see, let's call it 95 just for the ease of addition and math here. 115 minus 95 is 20 thousandths lower. That's a 40 thousandths at the bridge. Times 2 is 40,000. Divide that by 3 because it's a 1-to-3 ratio. And now you're looking at 13 thousandths of an inch, which is twice the amount off the heel as on that other guitar. I feel comfortable with that I can hit 13 thousandths of an inch. And I feel like that's a valid amount. You remember, that's one high E string, whereas the other one was half of a high E string. That was getting pretty precise for me, you know. So I feel very comfortable that we're going to reset the neck on this one. We're going to do it. First thing I'm going to do, measure all the actions, okay? Just so I have that information. So it was 105, and I'm pretty sure it's over 90 thousandths of an inch over here. Oh, yeah. 90. That's probably what I want the high E to be. Let's try 98. No, 98 didn't cut it. It's 96. And I'd like for that to be about 80 thousandths of an inch. So I'm going to write down my my goal here. So I'm going to see 93, 90, 87 on the D, 87 on the G, and 84 on the B, and 80. I like to have my trebles a little bit higher, so I have the D and the G the same. They're in the middle of the neck, and just my experience here is that I want the trebles just a little bit higher, because that's where you tend to, well, they're floppy strings, you know, and I just like that. It's just the specifications that I get kind of comfortable with. If that high E ends up being 78 or something like that, just a hair lower than 80, I'm fine with that. But I don't like it around 70. That's just too low. It doesn't give me the push that I want. So, okay, so I'm going to be dropping 20 thousandths of an inch. So I'm going to change here. So I want 20 thousandths of an inch on that. And then I want 16 on the high E. But we may fudge a little bit there. Instead of getting 93, I might be happy with 96. And that way they both go down the same, because I'm not going to mess with the saddle much. I'm going to leave that saddle alone. So, all right, I got my specifications. I know how much I want to take off of the heel. And I'm going to write that down right here. Neck reset. And I'm going to do 0.16 off the heel. That's hard to measure. You're not going to be able to measure that. So what I want to do is I'm going to come up with some other specs for measurements here. And we know that under full tension that this low E is 115. So now I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to pop these strings off. Oh, and I gotta get my things there. Oh, I'll go back over there again. Yeah, I got to. I don't want to work on that bench, but this bench is better for video, so that's why I have to keep running back and forth to get all these tools. There's a couple of bags. I'm going to need them. Take the pins out. Set those there. Get these out of the way. And of course, if you ever watch any of my videos, you know that I always do this the same way every time. There's a reason I do it that way. I take the middle strings off and I coil them up and put them around the headstock. Get them out of the way. We're going to be using these again. So some people have asked, why do you save the strings? Because I'm going to need them for the setup. And I don't want to put a new set of, these are new strings. I don't want to put a set of new strings on here for the setup and then ruin them. So I'm going to use these strings here. And I do the middle ones first, and then I do the B and the A, and I put them around. And then the last ones are the E's. I'm going to slack this off just a little bit. Okay, that's about enough tension. It's just tight. When I go to put this guitar in the neck reset jig, I will string it up just like this with a little bit of tension, and I will be able to measure this gap right here again, and I will have a ratio of action. I'll show you. This is a critical step for me. I don't know if everybody else does this, but I have found this very useful. So we know we started with 115. Let's see what we have with just a little bit of tension now. We got about 92 thousandths of an inch. I'm going to call it 92. This drives people crazy when I put the clipboard on here and use this as a workbench. But it's on the neck. I'm holding on to it. It's fine. So, we started at 115 tension. And I've got 92 thousandths right now slack. All right, the difference between 115 and 92. You could do this in your head, but I'm checking. Is 23 thousandths of an inch. I want to drop this action 20 thousandths of an inch because I want to go from 115 to 95. So that's 20 thousandths, right? Right. 115 minus 95 is 20 thousandths of an inch. I'm going to drop 20 thousandths of an inch. So that means the 92 has to drop 20 thousandths of an inch. Write that down there. So that means when I get done doing the neck reset, I need this slack tension to be 72 thousandths of an inch. Okay. And that's pretty close because I normally shoot for about 68 thousandths of an inch. But because we got just a little bit of a lower saddle here, that'd be the other way around. Yeah, I'm still comfortable with 68 because I think pretty sure what's gonna happen here is that as the guitar top settles a little bit, the action's really gonna go down. I did this fresh off the bat, I don't normally do this fresh off the bat. I would normally do it from experience, and I normally shoot for 68 thousandths of an inch when I'm putting this back together. So 68 to 72 is only about 4 thousandths of an inch. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. But I do know, if you follow me again on this, okay, because let's do this process again. I measured the action when it was under full tension. It had been strung up for weeks. And I got 115 on the low E under full tension, all the strings. I dropped the strings off except for the 2 E's. I put just a little bit of tension on them. And I'm getting 92 thousandths of an inch at rest. I know that I want to drop the action 20 thousandths of an inch because I want to drop it 22 thousandths of an inch, which puts us right on the mark there. But I want to drop it 20 thousandths of an inch, which means that I take 20 thousandths off of the 92, and that gives me 72. But that was using a 95. I actually want to drop it down to 93. And maybe even to 92. So that's another 3 thousandths of an inch, and that cuts the difference right there. So 68 to 72 would be perfectly fine. I'm not saying I can tell the difference between a 93 and a 95 action. I know 93 would be cushy, and at 95 I'd probably go pretty good. You know what I'm saying? We're splitting hairs here. The point is that rest. When I get done with this and I put this in the neck reset jig, I'm going to put the low E's back, or I'm going to put the E's back on, and I'm going to get my feeler gauges back out, and I'm going to want to see 68. I'm going to want to see 68 thousandths of an inch right here, right now. I'm going to see just a hair, and here's how much gap is in here now. That's how much we're going to drop that string at rest. So, okay? I'm not aware of anybody else that uses that technique. And again, I'm talking precision neck resets here because I want to use this existing saddle. Normally, I wouldn't worry about it too much. I would just, I'd do the neck reset and I would put a new saddle in there and, wiggle it to where I wanted it. But in this case, I want to do a precision neck reset. And I don't want to overset it. So, we are ready to start the actual process now. Finally, our pins are in there. I don't lose them. I'm terrible with pins, man. I put these plastic pins down on the bench and, these are not plastic pins. These are anti-acoustic. But when I'm replacing pins, I usually put them on the bench, and I just absolutely forget whose pins are whose. All right, now we're going to go over to the other bench over here, and we're going to start heating this off. I'm going to turn the steam pot on to get it warmed up, and I'm not going to show you much of the loosening process because, like I said, it's tedious, and because the camera angle's not good over there. That bench is up against the wall, and I can't get a good camera angle on it. But I'll show you a little bit of it as we go along. So here we go. Getting set up here to do the heat. I've shown this before in other videos. Let's just go through it again. These are the heat guards. This one is a foam heat barrier. It cannot withstand the kind of heat I use on these things here. It bubbles up. But I like it as a protective barrier on the first layer, like that. And then I take this one, which is cardboard with aluminum on it. This is cut just a little bit smaller than the neck, so that it doesn't get on. It, you know, it steps in just a little bit. That one's going to go on here, and it's going to cover the neck. This is my heat lamp, and that's close enough. It'd be nice if it was a click. Now we're going to go out there. I'll just move it up, and then we're going to turn that on. Probably, let's leave it right there. I might go down just a little bit closer. Yeah, I think it needs one more click. Like that. Okay, I'm going to let that heat for a little bit. Some people use heat blankets for this. I've got heat blankets over there. I don't like the heat blankets on the neck like this because the heat blanket will sit on top of the frets and not get down on the fingerboard, and you guaranteed to heat the fret to death on that way, and all the frets will pop out and everything. With the heat lamp, the heat will go down to the fingerboard. It'll heat the frets also, but you are getting the heat down to the fingerboard. I mean, it's light, so it's going down into the crevices and cracks right here. We're going to heat that up. While that's waiting, fire up my drill. And I'm going to get my drill bit. There it is. There's two of them. There they are. 3/32 of an inch. Fire up my drill bit. I like to get this drill bit out as far as I can get it so that I can really get into the dovetail pocket. So I'm going to set it in there, and I'm going to set it just enough. Set that over here. I'm going to need my marker, and I'm going to need my fret puller. After the sheets for just a second. About this amount, well, we're still live. I wasn't going to show you all this, but here we are. After about this amount of time, I like to take this and get it out of the way for a second. And take a look down here. And there's a little bit of moisture coming out right here. I'll show you. A little bit of moisture right here. And that's becoming from the cardboard, maybe. Maybe the cardboard's absorbed moisture. Maybe it's a little bit of moisture coming out of the joint already. I don't know. But you don't want to let that sit and cook. So wipe it off. And you're probably only going to have to do that once, maybe. Probably I'm going to have to do that maybe once or twice. But you want to watch it. You want to keep an eye on it. Okay, I get my water here. A little bit of water in here. Get that out of the way. I didn't move anything when I hit that, did I? And I got my spatula. Get all that set up. This guitar is hide glue, so it's going to like to have a little bit of moisture in there. I don't like to use just straight heat on hide glue because it's really resistant to heat. It's going to take a lot of heat to do it. And if you get a little bit of moisture in there, it'll steam it, and man, it'll come loose fast. Which is why I prefer steaming hide glue rather than just using the heat sticks. It needs some moisture. It'll really come off good with moisture. Okay? We'll let that cook for just a little bit more, and I'm going to go ahead and set some stuff up over here. Put the stuff back. I guess it's useful to see this in real time so that if you do this yourself, you know, you got a feel for how long it takes. It always varies. But in the early days, I used to think it takes this long, you know, and I would rush the process too much. So I think maybe it's valuable, you know, to see it. I've done this in other videos too, but let's do a fresh video, you know. Let's take a look at that. Make sure I get that on the hook right. A little bit more steam coming out. I'm going to test it with a spatula now. I'll take my spatula. And the first thing I'm going to do before I even do that, I'm going to mark my fret right here. And that's the 14th fret, 15th fret. 15th fret that's going to come out. For some reason, I always mark the treble side. It's just, it doesn't make any difference. It's just consistent, okay? I marked the treble side. And now that it's hot, I'm going to go ahead and pull that fret and get it out of the way. Nice. There's your fret. Drop it in there so I don't lose it. Let's see what this is looking like now. I'm going to give it a little bit of moisture in there. I'm going to come up under here and it doesn't want to do it yet. Maybe there it goes. Alright. Don't force it. Let it work in at its own pace. Not quite ready, but I do have it started. And I also have some heat in there. Look, it's steaming. That's good. That means it's getting heat down there. Hide glue. Man, it's sticky. Yuck. We got a little moisture in there, and that's going to help the heating process. Pop my guards back on. That heat lamp is far enough away that it's not going to heat the headstock. In fact, that's not even hot. It's barely warm. You know, you want to get your heat lamp up out of the way. I hang it right here on this hook a lot of times. I mean, it's completely out of the way. So this is going to come off pretty good. It's already loosened up. Hide glue. It releases really good under heat and water. Steam. My pot's heating up over here. It's looking nice. It's going to be ready to go pretty quick. Okay? We're waiting a few minutes. I'm going to get these clamps ready. Keep putting my tools back up that I used over there. Let's check it. Yeah, a little bit of steam, not much. Definitely getting there. It's also sticky hide glue. There's a trick I learned from Jim Baggett. Jim Baggett, Massachusetts Street Music, Mass Street Music. I always have to say the whole word. Baggett is, golly, he's the guy to talk to about pre-war Martins. I mean, he knows so much stuff. And I was chatting with him one time at Winfield, and we were talking about neck resets and stuff. I was talking about necks that lie, because sometimes you do all those checks, And you put the neck on, and it's like, what? The neck is lying to you somehow. We were just talking about that. He said that one thing he's been doing is not removing the extension all the way, but he leaves it still glued up here at the beginning, and then he puts the steam in there, and he lets the steam loosen that up, and it helps keep the steam from shooting out on the sides, and it's going to loosen up anyways because the steam's going to come up and it's going to loosen that section. So he lets the steam in the neck loosen up that final little section. I've used that when I was doing the neck twisting thing, when I would hold the body and twist the neck and bend it. I didn't like it as well because sometimes it loosened the wood up a little bit. Sometimes the steam wasn't quite ready to go. I did use it though. But now that I'm using the neck press, I think it'll work better because the steam will want to rise automatically and it'll loosen on its own pace. And so it's just something to keep in mind if you do this, and it works best with hide glue. This is one reason why I didn't like the heat sticks so well, because they don't do that for you. They don't loosen up that extension. The steam doesn't come up there and help you. A lot of people like the heat sticks because it controls the steam. They don't have steam shooting out all over the place. But I think after using both of them for a little bit, I think it's a matter of learning to control the steam. Don't let it control you. Come up with a different way. I have gone in there and clamped it back down with a clamp to hold that extension down to keep the steam from shooting. That looks pretty good. This is going to be ready to go now. So I'll show you what I mean here. Let's go. That looks good. I glued the spatula on here. Hide glue does that for you. And hide glue will glue itself back down as it cools, and so the heat stick doesn't get back out into that extension. You see, you're going to see this glued down again. So I got to loosen it up again. And there it comes looser, easier this time. And so what I'm going to do, take my spatula here, and I see how far that goes up into the extension here, see? So that far is touching up to the 15th fret, which is where the neck pocket is. So if I back up just a little bit, get about that much spatula in, then I'm pretty close. So that's what we're going to do, and I like that. I'm going to come in from the edge just a little bit very carefully. And there we go. We're going to leave that. In fact, I'm going to leave the spatula in here like this. I'm going to leave the spatula in here like this to keep it from gluing the extension back down. Now I'm going to get the chain out of the way. Get my drill. We're going to drill into the 15th fret. And you want to try to avoid chipping it here. You want to get, well, it's got a chip from where the fret pulled. And there we go. Put that back down. One of the inlay dots just want to pop back up. So push it back down there. Start your drill slowly and let it go in. You could also use a smaller drill bit to start with, but if you do this carefully, you'll be all right. And I swear there's a hole right there already. I swear that's a hole. I wonder if this neck has been reset. There's a hole. Huh. This neck has been reset before. I don't think I did it. Maybe the customer will tell me I'm wrong. But there's a hole. Huh. I like two. Yep. Yep, there's a hole there. I'll be darned. I gotta find out if I did this before, but I don't think I did. So, now I'm going to get this. This is a very fine Allen wrench. I use strings for this. I'm going to push it down in there just to make sure I got it in there. And see that Allen wrench? That Allen wrench is going all the way down into this neck pocket. So I got a really clean hole over there. Over here, yep, same thing. I got two really clean holes. This is going all the way down, so the needle's not going to have any problem. This neck is ready to steam. We're going to shift back over here, and I'm going to move the camera. This is the press technique. And there's a block right here. I have a whole video on this thing. It's a block. It's got a little piece of cork on it. It fits into a hole in the bench. And I'm going to move the microphone out of the way. And then I'm going to move the guitar down to here. Put the heel right on there. There. Take one clamp. Take one clamp, open it up. Those are the wrong clamps. Need the bigger clamps. Need these clamps. Get the dirt off of them. There we go. Put them on the bench. You want that point right on the rim. You don't want it on the top. I'm going to take a little bit of pressure on that one. Balance the guitar out. And then I'm going to balance it out. I'm going to put just a little bit of pressure on it to hold the guitar in place. I've tried using magnets and I've tried everything to keep these in place, and I just can't get anything that I like. So I just do it this way. Alright, our steam needle. Let's turn this up. On high now. Steam needle. Bring it around over here. Not quite steaming yet. Let it catch up. We'll get some towels so I can catch the steam. It's steaming over there real good. Okay, got a towel, clean towel. That's not a clean towel. That had hot glue on it. This is a clean towel. Steam's coming off the steamer real good. Not yet here. Got a little bit too much water coming out yet. Sounds good. That's good enough to get going. Alright. Gonna pop this in here. Pop in the way. Make sure that doesn't burn the car right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a bit of sandbag on it. There you go. Hold the neck. This may pop off really fast, and if it does, the clamps are going to hit the floor and all that. They're going to make a lot of noise. Don't let that bother you. Steaming it. Now, you want to watch for steam coming out the sides here, but I didn't go quite all the way, so it's not going to do it too bad. This is where people go, oh, steam damage. Maybe one reason I don't have steam damage is because I use two holes, and so the steam comes out. I know a lot of people use one, and the steam has to go somewhere, so it shoots out the sides. Maybe because I use two holes, I don't have that problem too much. The steam coming out of this hole, which I like because it means the heat is going around the dovetail, and that was one of my complaints about the heat sticks, is that it didn't get the heat up in the upper part of the dovetail. So if you had a guy that had already done an equi-set and had shims all the way up, the heat wouldn't get up in there and loosen that. The steam does do that. So I'm just checking this. I'm not getting any steam out the sides. So I'm steaming this a little bit. Keeping an eye on that. No steam coming out. It's all coming out of this hole. Let it steam a little bit. I'm going to switch to the other hole now. This guitar's had an equi-set. See, my steam's coming out of this hole now, making a loop. I'm not getting any steam at all out here on the body, out on the edges here. None. None. It looks real clean. Now, here comes the neck. I'm going to give it a little bit of attention. Should be plenty. That should be plenty. I can hear it. Yeah, I can feel it in my hand here. I can feel it creeping. Got a little moisture coming out the bottom, which is good. Pull this up again. One thing I like about the steam is that you can put the needle in part way, like that. And that drives the steam down through the joint so it loosens up into glue that's on the sides. It's a little bit better. I'm getting no steam out the edges here. None at all. Now I'm going to take this knife and I'm going to go ahead and wiggle it in there. There we go. And loosened it out all the way. Now that joint is all the way loose. So I can go ahead and get that out of there so it doesn't hit the ground too. There, now I got a little steam coming out the sides. Just right there. Put that in all the way. Poosh. You can, at this point, actually pull the needle out, set it aside, and just let that heat work on this joint for a little bit. You don't have to steam it all the way to the end. So you can get that out of the way. Just let it soak for a minute. Put a little more tension. When this hide glue comes loose, it comes loose immediately. That's why you always hold on to this neck. You hear it creeping. You can wiggle it like this just a little. It's going to pop in a minute. Yeah, there's water coming out of the joint right now. We got plenty of water in there. Oh, and there we go. Doesn't that sound awful? That made everybody jump. But all that was the clamps popping off, and the neck is here in my hand, which I held on to it, and here we go. Ah, that scares you guys, doesn't it? That's how hide glue lets the goose. Man, it goes pop, and it's off. When you do it with tight bond glue, it just kind of goes, and it just creeps up like that. It's rubber, you know. Shit, I did do neck reset on this. There's my date. Brian Kimsey. Huh. Okay, well, no charge on this one. Wow, that's funny, though. Let me turn that off. That's funny that I did a neck reset on it and sent it back with 93 thousandths of an inch, I'm sure. And for it to be 115... that shows you how much the guitar has moved since I did it. I can't quite read my date right there. But I know we have it. I know the customer has a record on this. And we'll look that up. September something or another. So, man. We're right at September again. That's funny. Well, I did a good job of hiding the fretboard or the divots in there because I didn't see them until I pulled the frets off. And I'm like, this has had a neck reset before. So that's interesting. It's just on the second neck reset. That tells you how much this has got to move from the factory. They start with a brand new guitar. And I just can't be too critical of them because I would not want that job of trying to put together a guitar that's brand new and is learning how to be a guitar after being a tree for so many years. And it wasn't right the first time, and it's still not right the second time. We're going to do it again, take off just a little bit, and keep an eye on it. That's what happens when you get light built guitars, though. You know, they move. I am surprised this needs another nickel set, by the way, and that action was 115, because I'm positive I would have sit at home at, 93 thousandths of an inch, or pretty close to that. So, interesting, you see. You can't be too critical about, the company should be better, the company, shoot, I didn't even do good either, I did an Equichet, it went home, it was wonderful, and I get it back, and it's high, and it's nobody's fault, it's just the guitar moves. You want light-built guitars like this, that's what's going to happen, okay? That's why I think we should sit and wait on the 37A, especially. Let's give it a couple of years, and then let it settle in. So this should be a piece of cake, though. It'll be 16 thousandths of an inch. And here's my joints, or here's my shims. And see, man, I don't even, yeah, there they are. It only took me one shim, but here's the neck. This is something that's not authentic about the authentic. It's got this brass deal in here, but it's got a T-bar. Where is it? Right there. There's the T-bar truss rod, which is a good deal. And my shims came loose really clean, which is cool. And my shim is stuck in the neck right here where it was glued on. And it took not very much shim at all. Okay. That's taking the neck off of the D-18 39 Authentic for the second time. I will let this dry. I let it dry overnight. I'm in engine fire now for a couple of days. My HVAC situation is not solved, but it's at a standpoint. So I should be here for a couple more days. And I'll probably put this back on Monday or so, and let it sit and dry out for a little bit. That's the process of taking the neck off of an authentic, and the difference between the authentic and a 70s is the matter of the glue, and the hide glue responds very well to the heat with the water. It needs the moisture to reamalgate it and soften it up, so much more than the tight bond kind of glue does. When that neck comes off, it pops. You heard it, you saw it, you made you jump. I guarantee it made you jump. And there's nothing, nothing, that's how it comes loose. It comes loose. Pop. You have hide glue on the bridge, they don't loosen up and slide. They go pop and they're off. And they come off clean. This is really super clean. I'll have no problem putting that back on. I am happy to see that it's stuck that good, because I used fish glue on this, I'm sure. And sometimes people are critical of fish glue because it's weak. But I saw absolutely no difference taking that off than with hot hide glue. And, it's stuck, and that neck was on there pretty tight, and it took it a minute to come off. The steam hit it, and when it came off, it popped. I working on the guitar, I would have sworn that was hot hide glue. No idea, that it was fish glue, but I know that I use fish glue. So, well, I guess I didn't get paid for this one. This one's on loan anyways. I'm doing this for fun. So we are going to reset it to that saddle, though. All right, man, this is a long video. I hope you got some kind of information out of this. Again, think about the things I said, People are critical that Martin can't get that action right. And guitars move. And they're going to move a lot from when they're first built to 2 years later. That's going to be the first step. And then the second step, in my humble experience, is going to be from the second year to about the 10th year. It's going to move a little bit more. And then from there, 10 years to 30 or 40 years. So, the older guitars didn't need this kind of reset. Like if you look at the 60s, 70s, well, that's because they're non-scalloped. They're non-scalloped. They got great big bridge plates in them. They were built to not have to do this kind of thing. When you have a light-built guitar like this, it's gonna move, and so it's no big deal. We did that, and I could put this neck back on right now, but I'm gonna let it dry a little bit. Just I'm not in a hurry right here. I got other stuff to do. I'm gonna let it dry. But I could put this back on and we'd be done in 3 hours on a neck reset. Well, the glue has to dry, but point is, it's a geometry realignment, post-construction geometry realignment opportunity. Later.